Franke rant. Everybody's talking about Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. I'm going to lay down some cold, hard facts for each and every single one of you. The Johto games, Gen 2 and the remakes in Gen 4, are the best all-around games in the main series of Pokemon, and I'll tell you why. Let me start from the beginning. These games were planned since day one. They are true sequels. Think about the first episode of the Pokemon anime. Ash Ketchum sees Ho-Oh, the cover legendary of Pokemon Gold version, flying off into the distance. At the beginning of his journey, the seeds are already being sown for Generation 2. First gen in the Kanto region. 150 Pokemon, including one secret one that many believed was just a myth until a little while before. The Generation 2 games added 100 new Pokemon that you can raise and love just like all the classics. There were new moves to make sure that your old favorites would still be up to snuff, and a whole new region to explore. Now granted, this is what we've come to expect from a new generation of Pokemon, but back at the time, it was a pretty big deal. But now that I'm done with the preface, here are the real reasons why the Johto games are the best. Not only do you get a completely new living, breathing region to explore. You can visit Kanto again. You can visit the original region from the original games and see what's going down there 3 years later. True sequel, people. That means not just 8, but 16 gym leaders that you can challenge and beat. If you're looking in terms of post-game content after you beat the Elite Four, the Johto games are king. Chansey can evolve. Onix can evolve. And that ain't all. Pokemon legitimately started liking you, and that was the reason some of them evolved. The introduction of held items, which completely changed the competitive game. You can pick up things in the overworld that allowed you to make unique Pokeballs that made catching certain Pokemon so much easier. Day and night cycle. Now we get into the meat and potatoes. This was in a time before Animal Crossing. There were certain things you could only do at certain times of the day. You had to wake up early in the morning to catch Leddyba. You had to come back after 6 p.m. in the evening to catch Houndour. You could catch Lapras in the wild now. All you had to do was go to a random cave in Johto on a Friday. Just like in the real world, time was passing. The Red Gyarados was our introduction to shiny Pokemon. Then one day, wandering Silver Cave, you run into a Golbat that looks a little different than he should, and you kill it. Pokemon had genders now. So of course that sets up baby Pokemon. That sets up breeding, which is the foundation for modern Pokemon competitive battling. Okay, you can argue that the Elite Four and the game in general was easier. Yeah, the Safari Zone was gone and there were a couple of other mechanics that were removed from Gen 1. Fine, okay. But the glitches were cleaned up. You had the Pokegear. People would call you out of nowhere in the middle of the day and challenge you to a rematch. Or they might give you rare items like evolutionary stones just for being their friend. Pika-Blue is real. Your mom actually does stuff. You can decorate your room with dolls, including a giant Snorlax. You can see what's going on Kanto 3 years after Red made his violent tear through the region. Planned from day one. And then we get the Crystal. Bonus content. Suicune's side story. The Pokemon sprites moved! Yet for some reason, most of these things were removed in Gen 3. I'm playing through Ruby and Sapphire. Wait, I can't catch every single Pokemon? Then the other games came out. Where's the day and night cycle? Then along comes Gen 4. In my eyes, Gen 4 is arguably the best generation of Pokemon. Now, don't get me wrong. I love every gen of Pokemon. Gen 5 is when my favorite Pokemon, Scrafty, was introduced. But Gen 4 is when everything just slid into place. And of course, all of the Gen 4 innovations made it into the Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes. Gender differences. Certain male and female Pokemon look different. Purely cosmetic, I know, but a nice touch of universe building. The return of the day and night cycle. Remember all those 16 gym leaders you fought during the game? You can find them in this living, breathing world. Get their phone numbers and fight them again. And they were stronger than ever. Oh yeah, remember Lance's puny level 50 Dragonite? You fight them again and they're stronger too. You get the running shoes from Gen 3. The Safari Zones are back. There are bonus areas. All that bonus content from the Director's Cut Crystal version. The Suicune side story. Unknown shenanigans. All made it into Heart Gold Soul Silver. The boss of Team Rocket had a son, and he's that guy who violently shoves you aside and steals a Pokemon. on, a lot of things about that suddenly started making sense. Physical attacks and special attacks were no longer based on type. If you were a water type and wanted to be a physical attacker like Gyarados, you could do that now. The Battle Frontier from Platinum made a return. Just the right amount of water. You had the Pokeathlon. And one more thing. The biggest, most important thing of all. Your Pokemon followed you around. Pikachu didn't have to sit in his Pokeball anymore. Your Pokemon were part of this living, breathing world that kept moving whether you were playing or not. People have been begging for this since Yellow version, and they finally got it. Only thing I'd say against it is that the encounter rate in caves was way too high. And once again, most of these innovations went poof come Unova. Can you blame people from expecting more from the Hoenn remakes? Don't get me wrong, Alola is awesome, but Johto Kanto will always be the GOAT. 2 regions in 1, unique gameplay mechanics that have not been seen or heard from since. Gen 2, and by extension, Gen 4 was the best. Fight me.